Welcome to Startup Hacks, a We Global podcast. We explore the stories and secret strategies that women entrepreneurs use to save time and money when bootstrapping and building their businesses. I'm your host, Fernanda Carapinha. Welcome back to another episode of Startup Hacks. I'm your host, Fernanda Carapinha, and today I'm really excited to do a special episode for you where I get to spend some special time one-on-one and share with you a little bit about my own background and journey and my own startup hacks. I have spent a lot of time with some amazing entrepreneurs who have shared their secret sauce with you, and I thought it was about time that I give you some of my own. So starting out, if you don't know a little bit about my own journey, I'm originally from Portugal. I moved to the United States when I was a little kid and grew up in New Bedford, Massachusetts, where I went to high school, and ended up in Philadelphia, where I went to college at University of Pennsylvania, and moved to New York, where I spent a fair bit of time working in the entertainment business. And then after several years, moved to Los Angeles to continue my career in media, where I was developing television shows for companies such as Paramount and Burlstein Gray. And I also worked at Lifetime and ABC and had the privilege of working with some of the best producers, directors, and actors in the business at the time. And I really enjoyed creating IP, intellectual property, and working with artists and figuring out what was their vision, what was their passion, and how to create a show out of it. And I find that over the years, as I've done different things in my life, including obviously being an entrepreneur, that it's this passion to really create intellectual property and to assist creators in executing their vision and realizing their vision that really excites me and was really the genesis for why I started We Global. After being in the entertainment business for well over 15 years, and I left the business to start my own family and then became a writer in TV, and also became an author, published author in the graphic novel area, and a producer. I then segued into more kind of traditional Silicon Valley type entrepreneurial work. I launched a multi-platform digital content company. I launched a behavioral data analytics company, and did that for a number of years, and found while working in the startup ecosystem, as much as I loved it and I loved the freedom and the creativity, I really found that the ecosystem itself was not really conducive to women getting funding and getting the support that they needed. And one thing I really hate is inefficiencies. So about a year ago, I decided to really start looking deeply at starting We Global, which is Women Entrepreneurs Global, which is the show that hosts this podcast, and also another podcast called Mindset for Success, which is really focused on the mental health of female founders, which is often overlooked, but it's really important to focus on. And the goal with Women Entrepreneurs Global is to really support female founders in the building of their businesses. And you may think, okay, well, what's the difference between kind of building your business or launching your business or scaling your business or raising capital, right? It's all part of the process. Well, there is so much support and so much discussion around raising capital. And raising capital is incredibly important. It's often very difficult to build your business without capital, sadly. But it's very difficult to do so unless you've achieved traction. So what do I mean by traction? You have to prove that there's actually a buyer for your product. So when you go out to meet with venture capitalists or even angel investor groups, for example, they really want to see that you have established product market fit, that the product that you've created really meets the needs of a buyer, and that you've been able to sell your product over and over again. And oftentimes the benchmark that you have to meet is $1 million a year in revenue. And that's a lot of money. And when you're trying to build a business that can generate that level of money, It requires infrastructure, it requires people, it requires investment, it certainly requires time. And so you're in this cyclical problem of, well, how do you build your business if you don't have money, but you need money in order to build the business, but you can't get the money unless you have the revenue. So it's this really awful process. And which is why I started We Global, because I felt that not enough attention was really being paid to actually how to effectively bootstrap a startup so that you don't need a ton of capital, so that you can start to generate revenue, so that you can reinvest that revenue, and so that you can get to those traction milestones. And I kind of look at it as working in the minor leagues of baseball, where you're developing talent, where you're teaching founders how to effectively stretch a dollar, stretch their time, and to all the while really maintain a competitive edge so they can reach those critical milestones that are really looked upon by investors as critical in order to be successful. There's a lot of things that you need to do as a founder to be successful, starting with having a great idea, having a great team, doing proper market research so that what you're offering is really truly needed, having a real great rapport with your customer base and really understanding their growing needs and how to integrate that into your offering and provide real value. But in addition to that, you need to do so with an eye towards growth and with an eye towards scaling and understanding how you're going to take your version 1.0 of your business and then be able to scale it to version 2.0 and 3.0 without blowing the tires off the car. I mean, honestly, what happens many times is founders aren't really ready for the success that comes. They start getting a lot of sales and they just don't have the infrastructure or the customer service to really support their client base. And then you're kind of running on empty, and then you're desperately looking for more funding so that you can hire more people. So it really requires a network of experienced professionals who really know the game and know how to support you. And that's really what Women Entrepreneurs Global is really all about. We wanted to create not only a studio where we would work hand in hand with founders in building their businesses, but we also wanted to create a do-it-yourself platform where we would have educational modules that teach you all of this. And you could watch these videos, whether you're in Africa or India or Central America, at your leisure, and become a member of the platform and educate yourself and upskill yourself, network with other female founders, network with your customers, network with your funders, and also get to know best-in-class service providers who can provide excellent services to you at a discount, all in one ecosystem, so you don't spend your life Googling and reinventing the wheel, which we all do all over the world. And it's just incredibly inefficient. And I hate inefficiencies. So I wanted to build this ecosystem that really took a holistic view around building a business and putting mindset and mental health at the forefront, which is very seldom done. And one of the things that investors will look to first and foremost for first-time founders is whether you have founder DNA, whether you have good founder DNA. And that's things like, are you self-confident? Are you articulate? Do you have grit? Do you have stamina? Do you have vision? All of these things that from in their eyes is critical for you to really make it through the arduous task of really building and launching and scaling a successful business. So we are committed to that on the platform as well. And a lot of the content that we create is focused on building founder DNA, which is critically important. So that's a little bit about We Global and why I started the business. And I found that during this process, some of the startup hacks that I lean on that are very important to me are really around time management and the blocking out of hours of time to execute your vision. So you've heard, I'm sure, from many different people, different strategies. And one strategy doesn't work for everyone. So you have to seek out what is best for you. But I'm a mom. I have 2 kids. I have a very active personal life. So for me, I'm really limited to kind of a Monday through Friday, 9 to 5, 9 to 6 time period. So it's all about how do you maximize those hours? And I try to maximize those hours. And trust me, I'm a hot mess many days. And I think that the beauty of being an entrepreneur is to be okay with being a hot mess. Like, you get it wrong a bunch of times, you get it right a bunch of times. But the key is you keep on going and you keep iterating until you get better and better and better at it. And that's what makes an entrepreneur, a true entrepreneur, someone who is not afraid of failing, someone who's not afraid of being imperfect, because that's how you build a successful business. And so around time management, I find that for myself, I literally have to schedule my life into my calendar. And I literally mean like shower, walk the dogs, prepare lunch for the kids, periods of time where I'm doing creative thinking, periods of time where I'm responding to email, blocks of time where I'm doing administrative responsibilities like paying bills, household bills, setting up doctor's appointments. I mean, life goes on. You still need to make time for all that. But I do find personally that if you create buckets for all of these things in your calendar, when they come up, you can throw them in that bucket. And if you use a system like Trello or some other time management software tool that defines the buckets, you can just throw it up on the board and you can say, okay, this is something that needs to get done when I'm tackling this bucket next. And that way you can move on and not constantly be distracted. So that's something that I do that I find is particularly helpful. I also think it's important to schedule out your time on a calendar so that you can see when you're failing, because you don't know if you're failing unless you actually create a schedule. So I know, for example, if I'm supposed to be at my desk at 9 o'clock, or I'm supposed to be doing something at 8:30, and it's 9:30 and I haven't done either of those things, that I'm already running behind schedule. Now, you may think, okay, well, that's pretty obvious. It is and it isn't, especially in a time like COVID when you're home every day and it kind of seems like Groundhog Day every day. It's important to really be as structured as you can be so that you have the freedom to have downtime. And ironically, I think with structure comes freedom. And when you don't, or I find for myself, when I'm not structured, I just feel like the time just drifts away and I don't know where it's really gone. And there's nothing greater than feeling like you've been really effective. And my personal goal is not to work harder, but to work smarter. So I ask myself all the time, how can I work smarter? And the answer to that question for me personally is to create systems. I used to work for someone at Lifetime who was really great at being organized. And she told me that she only touches a piece of paper once. And I always thought that was so awesome to be able to do that. So when things came into her inbox, and these days that would be your email, that you only touch it once. You don't go back to it. You handle it. It gets taken care of. You never have to see it again. It's deleted. It's gone. It's archived. So the key is to create systems so that once that system is created, you don't have to recreate the wheel again. So for example, one of the things that drives me bananas is emails and all of the spam that are in emails. And I tell myself all the time, oh my God, I have to increase my spam filters. I have to do this because I don't want to look at all this junk email. So one system you can create, for example, is create an email or a Gmail or any kind of email that's free for all of your personal shopping so that you don't give away your family email or your work email to sites that are going to track you and spam you to death. And that way, it's an email that you can go to when you need to check if something's being shipped or if it's arrived or if you have a problem with something, but it doesn't clog up your email. And that's what I mean by creating systems. It's one simple step that has an incredible impact in terms of productivity in your life. And if I